Welcome to the Trade Fork Connection with Tommy. This video is on your TNA results for the last 2 weeks. And here we go with some TNA wrestling news. Of course, thanks to Chris Shore for the results. TNA Impact Wrestling was taped last week, 2 weeks ago in Cleveland, Ohio. The show featured Sting versus Bully Ray in the final Bound for Glory Series match. They promised this time, and of course, the show always starts at 8 p.m. on Spike TV. WWE NXT was holding its weekly event at the NXT Arena in Tampa, Florida. Bo Dallas, Corey Graves, Adrian Neville, and more were scheduled to appear. If you were attending, send a report to me. PWX presents a double shot this past weekend with funny draws money on Friday night at Tremont Music Hall in Charlotte, North Carolina, and US vs. World on Saturday night at the Hickory Metro Convention Center in Hickory, North Carolina. Former WWE star Matt Striker, former TNA star Joey Ryan, Colt Cabana, Mia Kim, and cheerleader Melissa were scheduled to appear. Plus former TNA stars Daphne and Doc, also known as Luke Gallows and Festus from WWE, was supposed to be there on Friday night. And you find more about PWXProwrestling.com. Former TNA wrestler Matt Morgan spoke about the possibility of returning to WWE now that he's a free agent. I think it's very possible. Morgan told WrestlingInc.com, I think I went out and I did what I was asked after his WWE release. I went out and got the experience that I would need to get as far as main event experience. More importantly, I think I've matured into not just the character, but the man I am today. I'm about to be a first-time father on top of it. When I was first in WWE, I was a functioning addict. I was a painkiller abuser. I've been sober for 7 years now. It was a godsend that I was able to leave WWE and did what I did, because that's when I was able to go out there and get myself clean. Morgan also sang the praises of the current WWE product. I think with that company, there's so many fresh matchups for me. There's so many endless possibilities. That company's really cooking right now on all cylinders. Triple H done an amazing job. I just watched Raw the other night. The thing that he's got going on right now with Randy Orton, as well as Daniel Bryan, is absolutely perfect. And all the people that are bitching and moaning and going, they should disrespect him by calling him a small and 4-letter words like that. They ruined his moment, winning the WWE Championship at SummerSlam. That's the whole point. That's the hook. Morgan also discussed his run on WWE Tough Enough, trying out for an NFL team, meeting Vince McMahon, and more. Free agent pro wrestler Matt Morgan stated during an interview with Brian Fritz BetweenTheRopes.com that he is keeping the door open for a possibility of a TNA return. Definitely if the timing is right, Morgan said. Timing is everything in this sport. I've always said that it's the truth, but I do not want to go back somewhere where it's business as usual and let's do the stop stuff again. It's got to be full guns blazing. Let's do this thing. You've got a 7-foot, 330-pound steroid-free monster that is the most durable thing there is right now. Please tell of someone who is my size and hasn't had an injury in 10 years. I've never missed time for anything. That being said, let's go. Let's just come out of the gates blasting. Morgan also noted that during an interview that he had already knows what his future holds. I'll put it to you this way without saying too much, he said. I know exactly what I'll be doing and where I'll be heading and when I'll be doing that. Read more of the story at betweentheropes.com. I'll post a link right there. Morgan sat down with Fritz for the 80-minute interview that could also be heard at Between the Ropes. Morgan has previously noted that he is also open to the idea of returning. It's worth noting that Morgan goes back with new TNA head of talent relations John Gabbert, as the two worked together when Morgan was a contestant on WWE Tough Enough. Morgan requested his contractual release from TNA and eventually received it on July 9th. Hogan's contract with the company expires on October 1st, my birthday. According to multiple sources within the company, there's no indication that Hogan and TNA have come to terms on a new deal. Sources within the Hogan camp declined to comment on the matter. It seems logical that Hogan worked out his original deal so that it would expire shortly before the Bound for Glory pay-per-view, as that would give him the most leverage given that it's TNA's biggest event of the year. I'm not aware of whether TNA has an option to trigger a renewal clause as they did last year. And Jerry Bradley is now available for indie bookings via Bill Barron by SBIBookings.com. Bradley is based out of Louisville, Kentucky. He finishes his run in the Bound for Glory series in the Gauntlet match that aired 2 weeks ago on Impact. Update, Bradley is still with TNA and Ohio Valley Wrestling, by the way. DDP is no longer booked for the Pro Wrestling Elite or Fighting Spirit wrestling shows on October 4th and 5th. Bill Barron issued a press release announcing that the promoters, Robert Davis and James of Fighting Spirit, failed to send the deposit and flight fee before September 1st, so Page is no longer working the date. Barron noted the fans who bought tickets to see Page at the event should contact the promoters. He listed Davis's email as rld.fsp. I'll post that email right there for you. And also fightspiritpro@gmail.com. Midget wrestler Short Sleeve Sampson announced his 40-city farewell retirement tour beginning October 1st. Sampson appeared on Hogan's Micro Championship Wrestling, TNA, and played parody characters on WWE TV. He is taking bookings for his final tour by email, chaoticsamson@yahoo.com. You can also reach him via Facebook at facebook.com, Shortsleeve Sampson. Former WWE wrestler Kia Stevens, Awesome Kong, Amazing Kong from other organizations. She was born September 4th, 1977. Stevens worked as Karma, Awesome Kong, and Amazing Kong. As I just said, legendary promoter Jerry Jarrett turned 71. He was born September 4th, 1942. Jarrett co-founded the TNA promotion along with his son Jeff Jarrett. NYWC is holding an October 6th tribute show to indie wrestler and character actor Mario Todisco and a benefit for 5-year-old Cole Rapini, who was given a diagnosis of having only 2 years to live. All proceeds go to Rapini to help him fulfill the items on his wish list. The talent for the show includes Just Incredible, Jason Knight, Joel Gertner, Matt Stryker, and Homicide. The event will be held at the New York Wrestling Commission Sportatorium at 435-13 Brook Avenue in Deer Park, New York. Check out Cole's Cause for more details and donation information. A block of global Supercard Wrestling aired on at 7 p.m. Central Time through 1 a.m. on ESPN Classic. It was like 3 days in a row of that, and no info was listed for those shows. Former TNA wrestler referee Shane Sewell turned 41. Sewell was last seen in TNA in mid-2009, but currently runs a wrestling school in Caguas, Puerto Rico. I hope I pronounced that. Caguas. There were 3 airings of Global Supercard Wrestling on ESPN. 7 p.m., 8 p.m., all the way up to 11 p.m. and midnight. Actually, 7 p.m., 11 p.m., and midnight. TNA released video footage of Dixie Carter presenting X-Division champion T.J. Perkins, a.k.a. Manic, with a new contract. Terms of the deal were not disclosed, and you can view the footage. And I'll post that right there. It's also on YouTube. Thanks to Patrick for sending that in. Carter praises Perkins for what he's gone through to make it in the business, and said that she sometimes wishes that others who have already made it would remember everything they had to do. It's nice to see TNA sign a wrestler as Perkins is deserving, though it does seem odd that the reigning X-Division champion has been working without a deal. Devon wrote about his departure from TNA on a couple weeks ago after his loss in the 10-man match aired on Impact. Thank you to all the fans in TNA for 8 great years, he wrote. Whether you love me or hate me, I had a blast. You guys rock. Thank you, my brothers. In Aces and Eights, we kicked ass for a year and a half. We rode together and we will ride again. I would like to thank the TNA wrestlers for 8 great years. You guys are truly my family. And just so you know, I'm not done yet. Follow him online at twitter.com/testifydevon. Devon took the pin in the 10-man match that carried the stipulation that the losing wrestler must leave the company. He was among the TNA wrestlers advertised for the Body Slam and Breast Cancer 2 event that took place on September 14th in Melbourne, Florida at the Melbourne Auditorium. The advertising notes that all proceeds will benefit single mothers fighting breast cancer. The other advertised TNA wrestlers included Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, Jay Lethal, Mike Knox, Rex Briscoe, and Garrett Bischoff. For those that don't remember, Jay Lethal has been gone for 2 or 3 years from TNA, who is now wrestling and still wrestling for Ring of Honor. Hulk Hogan Uncensored took place in Toronto at the Metro Toronto Convention Center as part of the Fan Expo Canada event. Hogan and Eric Bischoff did tell stories, and then former WCW ring announcer Dave Penzer did moderate the fan Q&A portion of the show. Tickets did run from $29 to $249. More details, visit Fan Expo Canada. Maybe it hasn't ran yet. And I'll post that link right there as well. TNA stars Joseph Park, Robbie E., and Jesse appear on the latest Impact Wrestling podcast. You can listen to the show at YouTube, and I'll try to post that link right there as well. The show is hosted by Jeremy Borash and Christy Hemme. Impact Wrestling Podcast is also available via iTunes and iTunes.apple.com. Sirius XM radio host Howard Stern has been playing up a feud involving his regular guest, Eric the actor, and TNA wrestler Bobby Roode. Stern ran audio footage of Roode running Eric down and inviting him to Bound for Glory. Eric said he would attend and the Howard TV cameras will be present. It's good promotion for TNA's biggest pay-per-view event of the year, which took place on October 20th in San Diego, California at Vias Arena. You can read more about the story at ImpactWrestling.com. Former WWE star Bill Goldberg was among many pro wrestling celebrities who appeared at the Legends of Wrestling night at the Miami Marlins baseball game. After throwing out the first pitch, Goldberg spears the catcher. You can view the footage at this link right here. Bret Hart, Jimmy Hart, the Nasty Boys, Lanny Poffo, Mr. Anderson, Wes Briscoe, Garrett Bischoff, Chavo Guerrero, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Bush Striker Luke, again Lanny Poffo, Coco Beware, Brutus Beefcake, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and David Hart Smith were all advertised for the event as well. TNA personality SoCal Val, Valerie Wyndham, announced on Twitter that she is no longer with TNA. Thank you at TNA, hashtag Impact Wrestling, the locker room, and especially the fans for 9 wonderful years. She wrote, no longer with the company, really excited to see what's next. Follow her online at twitter.com/SoCalValerie. And there's some other news that she was arrested over the last 2 weeks. The cuts keep coming from TNA. There's no word yet as to whether her contract expired or if they actually cut her before her deal was up. Christian York was interviewed by Chad Dukes of ChadDukesWrestling.com. Here are some of the highlights from that. He comments about his second release from TNA. It was the same time everyone else was getting released. They just called, I guess it was like July 2nd or 3rd or something. And they said, they got to give you your release. I hadn't heard back from them at all in a while. In May, whenever I worked for them last, it was just, they had to let me go. They had to make budget cuts when they have nothing they can do for you. They can't fit you into the stories. They're just sitting at home with a thumbs up their butts, collecting a paycheck, and they're going to have to make a budget cut. That was just the way it was. If he felt he got a fair shake, I don't know. If I'd say I didn't get a fair shake, I don't think I got to live up to the potential that I think I have. I think maybe in the beginning they were just testing the waters with me to see if I could get over. I really have no idea because I never got any feedback. I thought I was having some good matches with people, especially with Jeff Hardy and Bobby Roode, and had some good stuff. Then all of a sudden you don't show up for TV anymore. You're just sitting at home collecting a paycheck. I was doing house shows and stuff, but that was it. I was just grateful that they gave me a shot. And any comments about the state of TNA? To be honest, I think the company is just trying to get through. So you have to make changes. WWE has to make changes with what they want to do with the day of the show. You can't just say, this is how it's going to be in 6 months from now. This is how we are going to get there. Because things change. Guys get injured. It's ever changing. The guys sitting at home, everybody has the answers, right? The ones that don't do it, everybody has the answers. And everybody thinks it's easy, but it's not. To try and run a company that's trying to do something that big, that's not an easy thing to do. You have a lot of outside things going on. It's not just about wrestling. Any comments about Daniel Bryan? I think he's an aspiration for anybody trying to get there. I mean, he's what, 5'8", and he doesn't fit the mold like you said. But I think pound for pound, he's the best wrestler in the world. He's the best worker in the world. You can have him do anything, and he's going to make it work. Any comments on Bobby Roode? The guy I like Bobby Roode. I think Bobby Roode is an awesome talent. I really do. I think he can have a good match with anybody who gets in the ring and gets the job done. Any comments on Bray Wyatt? When the buzz started going around about it, I guess when he first started doing the gimmick, I checked it out on YouTube. That was before he hit the big stage. It was just in the FCW, NXT, or whatever. I saw his promos and said, this is cool. I like this. This is definitely fresh. But I've been a fan of that guy's work. I was a fan of him when he was Husky Harris. I enjoy being a big guy like him. His build, his weight. That could just move like a freight train, but I think the character's awesome. I hope there's a lot of longevity in that. Well, Kurt Angle was scheduled to appear at Team 3D Wrestling Academy show on September 14th. However, Angle's wife, Giovanni Angle, wrote on Twitter that the event had been canceled. She tweeted, my husband is not going to the Team 3D Academy event. It has been canceled. You dirt sheets need to stop yapping about untrue stuff, jerks. Other TNA talent were scheduled for the event as well. CTWE 5th Anniversary Farewell from Bethany, Connecticut. Report by Zach Zimmerman. I'll just call him Double Z. I would put attendance in the range of 350 people. For the most part, this was not a lively crowd. There were spots and workers that they got up for, but overall, the lack of the atmosphere brought the show down a notch or two. The set was a level above what most indie shows have, with a big screen and played entrance videos. Nice touch. Also, they sold cupcakes there. Baked goods at wrestling shows are a win-win situation. First match, Mikey Webb won a 5-way elimination match to become the final CTWE Shooting Star champion. Typical indie spot fest. Match number 2, Bandito Jr. beat Christian Frost. Bandito in about 10 minutes with a rope-hung spiked DDT. Sounds to me like the draping DDT. Match number 3, Homicide and Bobby Ocean defeated Rhino and Brian Castle. Rhino hits the crowd-pleasing gore on Homicide, who got rolled up by Ocean for the loss. Post-match, Rhino gored his partner for a big pop. And Rhino was one of the few guys on the show that this crowd got up for. Match number 4, Vladimir Joseph defeated Team Shazam in a 4-on-1 gauntlet match. Joseph was pretty impressive for an out-of-shape big man. He plowed through the first 3 guys, and after some back-and-forth action, got to win with a fireball to the face. Match number 5, Trent and Derek Bateman defeated, I guess it's Trent Beretta? Don't know. What the last name given. But Derek Bateman defeated Antonio Thomas and Mike Bondo. This was originally scheduled to be a 3-way match, but Bateman introduced surprise partner Trent right before the match. There were good spots, but overall the match came across a bit of a mess, and there were awkward tags and missed time spots that even Trent breaking at points. Trent got the pin on Thomas with a kneeling cradle buster. Then they had intermission, which lasted about 20 minutes, and started the 2-hour mark. At the 2-hour mark, this was the first indication that the timing and planning of the show had not been well thought out. Match number 6, Team Friendship won a 4-way tag match to retain the CTWE Tag Team Championship. This one went twice as long as it needed to. There were bits that got over well, but oversight is welcome. Match number 7, Ricky Race defeated Michael Elgin. Decent back and forth match. That's all. Race get the win with a roll up. The crowd was very dead, so these two didn't go all out. But Elgin rarely, if ever, has any bad showing. Match number 8, Eddie Edwards over Johnny Gargano. From what I saw, this was the match of the night. Again, the crowd wasn't very hot, but these guys are 2 of the best on the scene. And they put together a good 15-minute match that Edwards won when Gargano tapped to the half Boston crab. Match number 9, Big Sexy Kevin Nash and Bull Dread defeated Platinum Entertainment. Unknown who these 2 guys are from Platinum Entertainment. Big pop for Nash's entrance. This was really originally a handicap match, but Nash introduced Dread as his partner. Dread wanted to cut a promo, but whoever was managing the show just blared Nash's music again and played with the lights. Nash was smiling like, really? I get that Nash is the draw, but putting this after the previous 2 matches is questionable pacing decision. Drake got the pin on the illegal man after Nash hits the jackknife. By this point, the 3-hour and 45-minute mark, about a third of the crowd had filed out. CTWE owner Joey Bricko came to the ring, and rather than noticing that the crowd was exhausted and leaving, carried on with what turned out to be a 15-minute talking segment in the ring. He talked about why he started the CTWE, got a bunch of insider language, and made amends with workers he had issues with, storyline-wise. At 11 p.m., 4 hours into the show, Northeast Wrestling champion Brian Anthony came to the ring and announced that NEW would be taking CTW's place in Bethany on a monthly basis. They joked about how long the show was running and yet continue to drag the segment out. Unreal. The only show I've ever spent 4+ hours at was WrestleMania. And that wasn't about to be the second. I walked out of the show for the first time in my life. I was not a happy guy. Other indies take notice. Put some thought into planning, timing, and pacing the shows. If that means only having 7 or 8 matches instead of 10, so be it. If it means shaving some time off matches and segments, so be it. This was unacceptable. And you got match number 10. Lucas Sharp won a 5-way elimination match to be the final CTWE heavyweight champion. There was heat on Hogan within TNA for booking a licensing deal with 2K Sports to appear in the WWE 2K14 video game. Eric Bischoff denied those reports, stating that there is no deal between 2K and Hogan. Bischoff posted the following on Twitter. Interesting to read, the choir of idiots suggesting that Hulk did a deal with 2K Sports illustrates just how ignorant these experts are and how these experts are attempting to frame a narrative to sell their BS. There is no Hulk Hogan 2K Sports deal. WWE is simply utilizing trademark assets they currently own in repackaged video games. Nothing new, but that's not what the parasites or morons who run dirt sites want you to know. Former Major League Baseball player Jose Canseco expressed on Twitter that he is trying to get the attention of TNA President Dixie Carter while chatting it up with Riddick Bowe on Twitter. Riddick sent the following message to Jose and Robbie E on Twitter, stating at Robbie E Impact, "What's up, partner? Being we have same manager, how do I become a bro and your tag team partner? You need a tough guy, partner?" Canseco replied back with the following at Robbie E Impact, "What's up, bro? When you coming to Vegas? Ask at TNA Dixie to get me in TNA. I will be your bodyguard." TNA announced that the Magnus will not appear on Impact due to an unforeseen issue. Read more at ImpactWrestling.com. Magnus was previously advertised to face Jeff Hardy in the Bound for Glory Series match on the show, but that match was replaced by Hardy versus Kazarian. Magnus noted on his Twitter page that he was en route to the United States after getting his work visa renewed. And you can follow him on twitter.com/MagnusOfficial. NXT is holding its weekly Thursday night show at the NXT Arena in Tampa, Florida. The Wyatt family were scheduled to appear along with Adrian Neville, Eden English, Bo Dallas, Summer Rae, Paige, and more. Ring of Honor doesn't return to live shows until September 6th and 7th in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And Birmingham, Alabama, respectively. September 6th is headlining by Kevin Steen and Unbreakable Michael Elgin versus Adam Cole and Tommaso Ciampa. September 7th is headlined by Roderick Strong versus Adam Cole in a Ringmaster Challenge match. You can get all the details on both shows at ROHWrestling.com. Adventureland in Voorhees will host WWE wrestler Dolph Ziggler for an autograph signing on October 13th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Ziggler will be signing autographs and taking pictures with the fans, and you can get your tickets at AdventurelandStore.com. Adventureland. I'll post that link. Former WWE wrestler Kazarni, real name Nick. I'll try to pronounce it. Jekovic. Turned 40 years old. Kazarni, who also wrestled for TNA and the Independents as Sin Bodhi, was married to Stacey Cat Carter, the ex-wife of WWE Hall of Famer Jerry King Lawler, and then divorced in March of earlier this year. ESPN Classic had 2 blocks of global supercard wrestling. The first was a 3-hour block from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. The second was a 6-hour block from 11 to 5 a.m. These are separate weeks. The following matches and events are advertised for Thursday for one of the week's episodes of Impact Wrestling Show. From Cleveland, Ohio, at Wolstein Center, Hogan returns. AJ Styles explains what made him change his attitude. Then AJ Styles versus Bobby Roode in Battle for Glory Series match. A double versus Christopher Daniels in the BFG Series match. And Jeff Hardy versus Kazarian in a BFG Series match. And I'll post another video as Bully Ray interrupted the
so another big Hollywood breakup.
How about it? Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones calling it quits. Here's Chris Van Vliet with your buzz.
Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones have separated. People magazine says the couple haven't filed for divorce or legal separation.
Obviously, it was a planned spot designed to provoke TNA Impact in Cleveland.
Do you know who I am?
It was a comical 2-minute segment.
Of course I know you. Of course I know who you are.
Who am I?
You're the TNA heavyweight champion, Bully Ray.
What else? You seem nervous.
Yeah,
Are you intimidated?
Previously advertised Jeff Hardy versus Magnus in a Battle for Glory Series
by
match.
me? I'm the
But
TNA
the match was
World
pulled from the
Heavyweight
show,
Champion.
apparently due to
I
Magnus
am the
not being able to
president
arrive in
and
time to
leader
work.
of the Aces and Eights.
These are issues
Now
Right.
go on
have already
about
been
your little
resolved.
Hollywood
TNA
buzz
was
people.
also
Yeah, whatever
advertising
you do.
Hernandez versus Kazarian.
You're in
That
Cleveland
match was also
because
it
tomorrow
moved
night
to
you guys are
Explosion
live at the Wolstein Center,
show.
live on Spike TV, and I
And
understand that
finally,
Hulk Hogan's
Impact Wrestling
returning.
from Spike TV,
Dad?
airing from
My dear
Cleveland,
old dad is going to be
Ohio.
there. I bet he probably wants to talk to me
They
about
opened the
how
show
I
with
ditched
their
his
ring
daughter.
entrance, and Bully
Threw her to
Ray
the
said
side.
he
Got rid of her.
in a really bad
Hit the
mood.
road, Toots.
He said somebody is
I don't
missing
care
his brother
what
Devon.
Here.
I'm talking right
He
now.
said
When
he
I
was
talk, that
upset
means you
and
shut your
wanted
mouth.
some answers and
Yeah.
turned to his brother
sorry.
for
Now,
answers. Eric
finish
Bischoff said
your
he
little
didn't.
segment.
Well, Bully
No,
Ray will be there
but
tomorrow.
he was
Hulk
just
Hogan
as
will be
mad
there.
as
All
Ray
the stars
was.
of TNA Impact Wrestling.
Duck
It's at
said
the
he was on the
Wolstein
floor
Center.
taking care of
It starts
Rampage and Magnus. He said he did his
7
part. Wes
o'clock.
Briscoe
My
said he
bicep is the
didn't
size
know
of
what
your
happened
head.
while,
It really
while
is.
whining.
It really is. I'm
Anderson
Chris
said
Van
it
Vliet.
was-
That's Bully
it
Ray and
wasn't
his giant arm.
what it
And
is.
that is your buzz.
Ray said he agreed because his brother Devon had always been a
I think it's
disappointment.
more the
Loser
size
and
of his
sidekick.
torso.
Ray
Or
said
tree
he had
trunk.
I was
all
nervous
he
for a second.
needed was the Huntington
This is
Beach
gonna get a
Bad
little
Boys.
tight here on our
Ray
set.
said he
Run,
was giving
Chris, run.
Tito his own cut. Anderson went nuts and asked Ray if he was crazy. He asked if they were done voting and if Ray was just to patch in whoever he wanted. Ray said he was the president of the group and would do what he wanted. He said Anderson better get it in line before he put him in line. He called out Brooke and told Anderson not to ever question him again. Tessmacher walked out holding a cut. Ray started to give the cut to Tito. But Anderson jumped in between them. Ray backed him into the corner and gave the cut to Tito anyway. It was Devon's cut, so Ray ripped the name badge off. He held it in front of Anderson and dropped it, and he went back and gave Tito the cut. He said he was done, it is done, and if anybody had a problem, they could get out. He said he wanted to watch and see who won the BFG series because he didn't have to wrestle until then. He said he also wanted to introduce his father-in-law to the only Brooke who he had ever meant anything to him. He left, leaving the rest of the gang behind. Announced team ran through the BFG series matches, and backstage Jeff Hardy cuts a promo saying he made Samoa Joe tap out last year to get in, while a video showed him pinning Joe. Facepalm, he said he was after revenge against Kazarian tonight because Kaz beat him in a ladder match. They went to commercial. Ray was very good here, but all of that was swept aside by Anderson's actions. Oh, please don't tell me that they're turning him again. I don't mind some frustration, but for the love of all that is proper in wrestling, leave this guy heel. His character can't take another turn. Hogan was shown arriving in the building as Kazarian made his ring entrance, and the announcer told us Hogan had banned his two buddies from ringside, or they would lose their spot in the BFG series. That might be something that would be important to use Hogan for, not just send it through the announcers. Jeff Hardy was out next. Finally, first match of the night. Kazarian versus Jeff Hardy in the BFG series. After the back and forth action, Kaz caught Hardy on the top rope and hit a security kick. Hardy came back and hooked a figure four to try and get the submission win, but Kaz made the ropes. Kaz reversed the twist of fate into a backside for a 2 count and a pump kick for another 2 count. Hardy came right back and hit the twist of fate and the swanton for the win. And Hardy defeated Kazarian in 6 minutes 7 seconds to win 7 points in the BFG series. The leaderboard showed that the win put Hardy in 3rd spot. Backstage, the gang raised hell about Bully patching people in and not voting on things, as Anderson said no one man was bigger than the club. They all toasted and agreed ODB versus Gail Kim to become the #1 contender was hyped for next. They have absolutely killed the BFG series for this viewer. It'll be interesting once the Final Four is chose, but they have completely destroyed this format as a viable option going forth, and they have no one to blame but themselves. At any rate, my guess is Hardy doesn't ultimately make it to the Final Four. A video recap of how AJ Styles joined the MEM last week and defeated Devon. The announced team hyped Styles versus Rude for later. Gail Kim makes her ring entrance as ODB was out next. Match number 2, Gail Kim versus ODB in a 2 out of 3 falls match to become the #1 contender for the Knockout Championship. Kim came out strong and hooked ODB in a submission that was part of a cloverleaf, part sharpshooter. ODB sold it for a while, but finally tapped out. Gail Kim won the first fall at 3 minutes 3 seconds. During the commercial, they cut in showed Kim still working ODB's leg. Back from commercial, it was more of the same from Kim on the leg. Kim reached down to grab ODB, but ODB hooked in a small package to win the pinfall to even it out 1-1. 8 minutes 25 seconds in, the match is tied. Kim dragged ODB over to the corner and hooked the corner figure 4 and held it until the very last second. ODB stood in the corner and dodged a Kim splash. And then ODB started her comeback and lifted Kim, but her knee gave out. Kim went back to the leg, but ODB rolled through and hooked a modified Boston Crab. Kim almost made it to the ropes, but ODB pulled her back in for the submission victory. At 11 minutes 28 seconds in, she won the 3rd fall. An okay match. I'm not the biggest ODB fan, so I'm always left wanting when she wrestles, but there isn't too much to complain about here. The commercial hyped the Knockouts pay-per-view next week and called the Taryn Terrell versus Gail Kim match the most brutal women's match in history, or something pretty close to that anyway. I laughed until it hurt, and that was a great match, but let's try and keep some perspective here. After all, it is a Knockouts match. Backstage, Velvet Sky answered questions about ODB and wished her good luck. She said she hated not being there the past 2 weeks, but she had some personal issues at home to handle. Camera guy asked if it was Chris Sabin. She admitted that they were together, but they kept their business and personal separate. But if you took time off from work to take some personal time with him because his work upset him, doesn't that mix work and personal? Freaking women. Christopher Daniels freaked out on Bobby Roode backstage because of Hogan's decree. Roode calmed him down and talked him up for a match against Austin Aries. A video recapped Aries interfering in the match last week As Jeremy Boras asked him about it backstage, as Aries said he was a guy who did things on his own. He said he turned the Mafia down, and he was for sure going to turn the other guys down after that. Daniels walks up and said he was going to flatten Aries more than Miley Cyrus's ass. Or something. I was cracking up all over it to remember what the exact wording was. Aries got in his face and said that they both stormed off, and as they got ready for commercial. Great exchange between Aries and Daniels, but that was a ton of fun, and I like Daniels more when he isn't being silly. Now I want to see that match. See how it is. A video recap of Miami Mafia putting Devon out last week. The Mafia made their entrance. Sans Angle, of course, and Magnus. Rampage started things off and said he wasn't going to wait until November to get his revenge on Tito. He was going to stop a mud hole in his ass anytime he sees him. Joe took the mic and said that they were in a hole last week, but AJ stepped up like a man and a Mafia member. Sting took the mic and said a spot was open for Styles in the Mafia if he wanted, but either way, they didn't want to thank him personally and publicly. Styles made his ring entrance with the old music and did the change just before coming in the ring. He took the mic and said he appreciated them being out there. He needed to do something by himself. He actually said it twice because the crowd chanted his name and he had to stop. The Mafia left him alone in the ring. Styles said he knew everyone has a question, so he had answers. He asked if he was a member of the Mafia. He said he respected what they did, but he had worn the suit before and it didn't fit him. He said he had trust issues and started whining about getting stabbed in the back by his two best friends and having his dirty laundry aired. He said maybe he finally learned what the business was all about. He said he couldn't make it any clearer. He was not with anyone. He said he was better than the best in the world. He was AJ Styles, and not the only person he could trust was Alan Jones, real name. Styles started complaining about his job sucking. He yelled at Tenay and Dixie Carter that he deserved better. Styles said he was always the guy that turned to when they brought it in the next big thing, only to see them fail. He said he did what he had to do to feed his family, but he was hoping he would get fired. He said over the last 2 months he realized he liked being the go-to guy. The fans were chanting, boring at this point. He said he could take the company on his shoulders again, so he was going to win BFG series. Bobby Roode's music hit, and he made his in-ring entrance. That promo was a rambling mess. I think it was supposed to be a work shoot based on his contract status. If so, it's a mistake to bring up CM Punk, who had the exact same contract situation. Styles may be better than Punk in the ring. I said may. Save the hate mail. But he's not even in the same zip code when it comes to mic skills. This is why I would play Styles for when I explained why his pay was getting cut. He and they may see him as the go-to guy, but he's simply never been charismatic enough to be the face of the company. Match number 3, AJ Styles versus Bobby Roode in the Bound for Glory series. Styles went for the calf killer almost immediately, but Roode made it to the ropes. Styles kept trying for the submission, but Roode hit a spine buster as AJ comes back with a flurry of strikes. Styles hits a nasty looking moonsault and tried for the submission. Roode kicked away, but Styles hits the Pele kick. Styles went for a springboard move. Roode grabbed him and hooked the crossface on the way down. Styles made the ropes and Roode pulled him back and reapplied the hold. AJ rolled him up for a 2 count and then hooked the calf killer. But Roode made the ropes again, but Styles hooked him up for a small package for the win. Then they go to commercial as AJ Styles defeated Bobby Roode in 7 minutes 11 seconds to earn 7 points in the BFG series. Leaderboard now shows Styles out of the BFG Final Four by 1 point behind Daniels. Backstage, JB said that they still had no comment from Hogan, but he promised to speak as soon as the BFG matches are complete. Daniels makes his ring entrance as Aries was out next. Match number 4, Daniels versus Aries in the BFG series also took control and set up the pendulum elbow. Daniels rolled to the floor and they exchanged sliding in and out of the ring until Daniels hit the stiff kick on Aries. Daniels played it up a little while the ref checked on Aries and then went back to work on him. But once the all clear was given, holy shit, it looked like Daniels tattooed Aries. Even Daniels looked shaken by it. I hope Aries is really okay and not trying to be tough. Back from commercial, Daniels worked several rest holds on Aries. Daniels hooked an abdominal stretch and reached for the top rope, but the ref caught him. Aries reversed the hold and managed to grab the rope for a brief comedy spot. Both guys teed off on each other and Aries knocked Daniels down and hits the pendulum elbow. Aries hip tossed Daniels to the floor and finally hits his dive. He rolled Daniels in the ring and climbed to the top, but Daniels used the ref as a shield. Aries jumped off and Daniels hit the set-out bomb for a 2 count. Daniels sets Aries on top, which led to a missile drop kick from Aries. Aries hits a corner drop kick, but Daniels reversed the brainbuster lift into a crossroads type move for a 2 count. Aries came right back with another drop kick on the ropes and a brainbuster for the win. And the match took 11 minutes 13 seconds. BFG Final Four are Magnus, Aries, Roode, and Hardy. Backstage, Bully Ray. Magnus, Aries, Roode, and Hardy. Backstage, Bully Ray told Tito that he sometimes feels bad about all he has done for Hogan, but he gets over it quickly. He said he had Hogan where he needed him, but he wanted Tito to make sure everything stayed in line. Tito said that he had it covered as they go to commercial. So wait, Styles doesn't even make the final cut? What? This doesn't even make any sense. Why turn him babyface, only to have him cut a heelish promo about being the savior of the company, and then not actually put him in the Final Four? What story are they telling here? This is a mess. Hogan finally makes his entrance and played to the crowd. Hogan put over the roster for doing a great job while he was gone. He had the leaderboard put up and said the top 4 were there. But in his meeting with Fight, they decided the match needed one more gauntlet match where the winner would get 20 points and any of the guys could advance. Ray cuts Hogan off as he started to talk about his next topic. He welcomed Hogan back and said some things had changed. He held the belt and said that he had that again. He started to introduce Tessmacher, but Hogan cut him off and said that after a little time and a lot of money, he had divorce papers for Ray. He said that was it. They were done. Ray sold being irritated and then recovered by saying he didn't care about Brooke Hogan. He said he used Hogan's daughter to get the title and Tito and the gang. He said he had everything he wanted and all he had to do was wait until Bound for Glory and watch it all play out. Hogan did Bully's "Do you know who I am?" bit, and it got a good pop. He did it again and said he was the guy running the show and he was going to tear Bully's family apart just like Ray had done Hogan. Hogan booked Bully Ray versus a member of Aces and Eights for the in 2 weeks, as Hogan called them Aces of Eight. Bully flipped out and said he refused. Hogan said he was going to do it, and he was going to defend the title this week against his next opponent. Sting's music hit, and he beat up Bully Ray to close the show. Was Hogan drunk? I asked with all sincerity. He rambled more than usual. And then he flubbed the timing for the match with Sting and said the name of Aces and 8 wrong. A mistake was on one thing, but 2 in a row like that was odd for Hogan. Plus, he said the match was for the title. I thought Sting couldn't challenge for the title anymore. Did Hogan misspeak there? Or are they just forgetting the stipulation? The shit was terrible. This was a mess of a show. BFG series booking mistakes continue to be compounded by adding more matches. They need to get to the Final Four and quit dicking around with the prelims. There was some good wrestling, but most of what was covered by the stench of the terrible logic and poor storytelling, and AJ Styles needs to be worried that whatever TNA was offering him was just dropped. The following matches were advertised for September 5th edition of Impact Wrestling, which is being taped again in Cleveland, Ohio. Bully Ray vs. Sting non-title, 12-man gauntlet match for 20 points in the Bound for Glory series. If you thought Sting could never challenge for the TNA title, again, you're wrong. If you thought the Bound for Glory series ended on a live edition of Impact, you're wrong. Sure, TNA told you those things, but apparently they didn't mean it. Hogan made the TNA title announcement in a rambling promo, so it's very possible that he misspoke and the title won't actually be defended. There really is one more BFG series match that was added after everyone thought the series was over. Swerve! It's like MLB, allowing the full season to be played out, letting the teams celebrate their playoff bursts, and then announcing that there's one more game worth so many wins that all but 2 of the non-playoff teams have a chance to replace one of the teams that actually earned their spot. And then TNA issued a statement on Twitter announcing that Bully Ray vs. Sting match will indeed be a non-title match due to the stipulation preventing Sting from challenging for the title again, thus appearing that Hogan simply misspoke. Former TNA wrestler Matt Morgan spoke with Raj Guri of Wrestling Inc., and the highlights of the interview can be read at WrestlingInc.com. Breaking into the business and first meeting Vince McMahon in the Titan Towers gym. I was wondering how do I start? So I moved back and I was at my parents' house in Connecticut where I took a job with an Enterprise Rent-A-Car in Stamford. I remember Titan Towers was literally a block away. Literally I could throw a football and hit it from where I was working at Enterprise. A lot of the wrestlers would come in there, so I would sit there and jump all over them and walk them to their car, rent them their car, hook them up, things like that, and then beg for info on how a guy gets started. I remember one time Tom Pritchard came in. Of course, I knew who Dr. Tom Pritchard was. Who didn't? I was a wrestling fan. He gave me the idea to start showing up to the gym. And they gave him a gym there. But they have a gym there at Titan Towers. They start coming in there. I had a friend who wrote for the magazine, for the Raw magazine at the time. And so those two, I would go work out at the gym on Friday nights. And I thought hopefully maybe I'd bump into Vince McMahon, who, because I heard he worked out on Friday nights as well with his trainer. I went Friday night for almost 8 months straight without seeing the man. I kept hearing that I just kept missing him. So I was coming up from work on Friday night, so I didn't have many hours to be able to do this. One night I finally hit it, and I met him, and I introduced myself. He obviously looked at my size and was asking how big I was, and things like that. What's your name? Where you from? That kind of thing. He was pretty shocked I was from Connecticut and hadn't heard of me. And I explained to him that I had never wrestled, never trained, I didn't know much of anything. I had money taken from me from an independent trainer in Hawaii. I asked him what the best bet for someone like me to make their start in wrestling. I really want to do this. He goes, you don't play any other sports? I go, I've got a combine with the Rams coming up very soon. He goes, I think you would owe it to your family and yourself at least to go to the tryout. You would at least owe it to yourself. There's no guarantee in wrestling, no matter how big you are. I was like, okay, and if it doesn't work out, he was like, well, you talk to Tom Pritchard, and maybe Tom can set you up with something. So I talked to Tom, and the combine for the Rams didn't go well, but I couldn't have cared less because my mind wasn't even on it. I already wanted to be in wrestling. When your mind's set on something else, it's kind of hard not to make up for that. So when your mind and your heart is really set on something, after I talked to Vince McMahon, it felt like the dream was starting to come together in a weird way, a very slow, weird way, but what's the next step to take? So I called Dr. Tom. My NFL camp didn't work out, and he said, they're doing this tough enough thing now. Well, you would be great because you have zero experience. We wouldn't have to untrain any mistakes you made on the indies that you've learned. I can't guarantee anything will work out for you. You clearly have to go there, bust your ass, and impress whoever's judging this thing, whoever the talent scouts are, because it's just as much MTV's decision as it is the WWE. So go out there, bust your ass, show them your heart, show your passion, and hopefully you can make it. That would be my advice to you to get started. Being the given stuttering gimmick in WWE, that was Vince McMahon's idea to give him something. But they didn't want to do the blueprint character because I had done it in OVW. Creative, the writing team, and more importantly, Vince was the one that came up with it. He for years had been wanting to put this stuttering character on the white guy. I remember him saying, look, if this isn't you, you got to tell me now. It's not a big deal. We'll send you back down. Still improving and doing what you're doing. I hear you're doing really well. Just keep it up and we'll find something for you eventually. I remember being at the time that I'm still learning a lot. But I know I'm going to learn a hell of a lot faster if I'm on the road and these guys again at house shows. I would say have to say yes to anything. I mean, if you tell me to wear a pink jockstrap, I would have went out there with a freaking pink tutu. I would have done it on a unicycle to boot. I would have done it, and that's how desperate I wanted to be back on the big show. Who doesn't? I remember when he talked about the character to me, he used a really good analogy that made sense to me at the time. But again, no matter what he told me, I would have done, because anytime he gets an idea, you would assume that you would be used and use the benefit of his ability. In his defense, he did. He absolutely did. It's just I take full credit for not getting fully over and not working. I'm very confident on the microphone, so I really believe I could eventually make it work. But what started happening was, which was kind of my concern at the time, was people, there's the rub. No one's going to be laughing necessarily at that point. Well, they kind of were, because I'm sitting there stuttering in the middle of my heat, talking trash to my opponent, so I just tried to go with it and make it as comical as I could, and maybe that's why it didn't work. I take full credit on that one for it not working. You always take credit for it on your own. You can't always blame other things like wrestlers or writers or this or that. Just take it on the chin yourself and as a learning experience. Me doing that character, it opened me up for even more, as far as, I don't want to say making an ass of myself, but being even more comfortable doing anything you throw at me. I was very confident, man. Very confident in my abilities and super confident in my athleticism and talking ability. what better way to prove that than doing something that it isn't your strength? I was going to knock it out of the ballpark come hell or high water. That's the attitude I had by attacking it. That night when Vince talked to me about it, he wanted me to go down to OVW and practice a little bit. I probably should have taken that man's advice, but I was so gung-ho to show that this doesn't faze me and I'm going to freaking kill this thing. This character, I said to him quite quickly, Mr. McMahon, I can have this down cold by the end of the night. We were in Chicago doing a taping for SmackDown. He was like, well, that's pretty fast, Matt. Don't you think you could give it some time? Working into matches and promos down there in promo class. I was like, just give me an opportunity. Let me come back in here by the end of the night after the show, if you don't mind. I'll cut a promo on you with this character. And he loved it because Vince loves people that attack things head on. That's the kind of man I am as well. So cool. SmackDown comes. Here I am in the bathroom mirrors in between matches trying to work on this character. His facials. What words does he stammer on? And then I come up with the idea of when I would start to stutter on a word to replace it with a completely different word. Like I start to use the F word and then replace it with a ridiculous word. You know, like instead of using the F word, use a funny word because I couldn't get the word out. I went back to his office. He said he had John Cena in there at the time and he wanted me to cut it on him. I ripped into John with this stuttering character and they both were dying laughing. At the time, John was like, look, we need big guys. We need big heels on our show right now. We need some new blood. Hopefully this works out for you, big man. He was really supportive of it actually, of me trying it and keep going anyway, so I did it. And they both liked it. I think it was a week later that I debuted on SmackDown. Then he comments on leaving TNA. I just think it was. I was about to start a storyline. A pretty major one, actually. Unfortunately, it just didn't materialize and they went a different direction with another person's character. I 100% understand why they had to do it with this particular character. But as far as I'm concerned with my storyline, that left me the odd man out, where I was going to be taking some time off and sitting at home again. I remember talking to Dixie Carter about it and her telling me to hang in there a little bit longer and more things like that. I'm sure creative will come around. We can find something. The problem with that was, again, I was going to be sitting and I'm in my prime right now and I just felt it wasn't best for me and my family. Most importantly, I have a kid on the way. I'm having my first child coming, and I'm a serious nervous wreck about it as it is. Let alone sitting at home doesn't make that any better. Financially speaking, I had to do what was the best for my family's financial standpoint. Morgan also discussed his time with TNA, reason for his TNA departure and return last year. Working with Hulk Hogan, leaving TNA this past summer. His time on Tough Enough, his first meeting with Vince McMahon and the Titan Towers Gym, his stuttering gimmick again. Then he comments about working with Brock Lesnar, being released by WWE, and if he saw it coming, working overseas, signing with TNA, and his WWE return is possible, and much more. And then there's a podcast with A Double Austin Aries, hosted by Adam and Gavin. Interview available at v2wrestling.podomatic.com. On his on-air character, you know, I find it funny that all the people that follow wrestling, people like yourself, that they all kind of use the terms babyface and heel, a good guy or a bad guy, because I don't look at life like that, and I don't look at wrestling like that. I'm pretty much who I am. And I'm not everybody's flavor, and I'm kind of polarizing, and some people like me and some people don't. And just like everybody in life, some days I come to work and I'm not in a good mood. And some days I come to work and I'm in a great mood. And I think that's like everybody. Nobody walks through life as pure baby face or pure heel. We all have shades of gray, and there's some days we're a little better than others, and some days we're a little crappier, more ornery. And I think I just embody that. I think Austin Aries is pretty consistent when he's on the screen. I don't think my attitude has changed a whole lot, other than letting people know that if you want to cheer me, go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you. Tell the people who make decisions what you want to see. Tell them you want to see on camera and in the ring. Any comments on his previous TNA run? Everybody likes to speculate that me and Austin Starr are somehow related. I always say that guy had never had a tattoo. I've watched all of the footage. The guy's mildly entertaining. Never really had a whole lot to sink his teeth into. But I certainly enjoyed him in the Kevin Nash Invitational Battle Royal. I'll tell you that much. Any comments on whether Kevin Nash helped or hurt the exhibition? Kevin Nash is a recognizable name, and he was obviously someone they brought in because of who he was. And then for him to hang out with us, you've got to understand that we had a blast. I had a blast working with Kevin. And you go back and watch some of the paparazzi production skits that I've seen. Those guys all look alike. They're having a great time. I think Kevin was doing what he could to help give the exhibition guys that time a little more personality and bring some of that out. And Kevin's a great guy to do that because he's full of personality. On his feelings about the wrestling industry, Aries says, I've been doing this so long now as a job and a profession that it's not that I don't appreciate professional wrestling, but it's not something I do in my spare time. I have a lot of other things I enjoy doing, and when I'm done with work, I kind of put it away. That doesn't mean I don't occasionally catch some of the other wrestling on television or YouTube. But there was such a long part of my life where I was really consumed with it, where it was all I thought about. And I just think, as my character has progressed and as I have matured, and the perspective of all this has changed a little bit, and now it's more of a job. That doesn't mean I don't love my job or have a passion for it. It's just not something I spend a lot of time free time doing. Any comments on meeting the fans? I think there's a balance of fan interaction. I think sometimes there can be a little too much interaction. I know when I was a kid, the mystique of wrestlers and stuff was something that was kind of big, and if I got to hang out with them all the time, I think that mystique can be lost. You got to be careful not to overexposure and oversaturate access to the wrestlers, because it loses that specialness. Comments on his future? I still feel that I perform at a level where I've got another 10 years in before I even start to think about maybe transitioning into something behind the scenes. But I've always been interested in the creative process of wrestling. I think that's a part of what has helped me excel, because there's a lot of guys who athletically are as gifted as I am. So I think it's the mental aspect of the game that has helped me achieve the success I have. And how close he came to retirement in 2011. Comments and said I had made the decision to retire. It was just one of those situations where I didn't feel that I was getting back what I was putting in. I didn't want to be a prisoner to the world of wrestling. I didn't want to be a guy who was trying to hustle every weekend and do a convention. I didn't want to be Randy the Ram in 10, 20 years. I felt at that point of my life I was okay with transitioning into something else, and I stopped taking bookings and nothing on my schedule. And before that really sunk in, I got a call from TNA offering me the opportunity to come down there for an X Division qualifying match. And I figured, well, why not take one more payday? That certainly can't hurt. And that's all he talks about. Former TNA knockout SoCal Val, I was talking about earlier, real name Paige Nicole Mayo, was arrested on August 31st in Orlando, Florida for DUI, leaving the scene of an accident with at least $50 damage without leaving contact information. She was additionally charged later for failing to yield to oncoming traffic when making a left-hand turn into the incident. She posted a total bond of $600 that day and was released. An arraignment hearing scheduled had been canceled and no new date yet posted. Thanks to Joe Mendiola for that knows from .net or wrestling.net. Joe also noted that according to Florida law, a first conviction of DUI at that BA level carries a minimum $1,000 fine, 50 hours community service, or an additional fine of up to $500. I'll also post a picture of her criminal picture, mugshot, what do you call it? Okay. And a fine of $500, loss of driver's license for 180 days, probation of up to 1 year, and impounding of the car involved for 10 days. They also could receive a jail term of up to 9 months. However, it is common for first offender cases of DUI to be pled down to a lesser charge and also a lesser penalty. The accident would carry an additional fine of up to $1,000 or a jail sentence of up to 1 year. Joe also included a link to her mugshot. Well, I'll just go ahead and post a mugshot. Okay. And there was a dark match prior to Impact for the following taping. For the August 30th episode. Eric Young defeated Jay Bradley. Mickey James came out for a promo. ODB interrupts and they fought. Chris Sabin versus Nux. Nux brought out a hammer in, but Sabin took it away and hit him with it. Winner by disqualification, Nux. AJ Styles won the gauntlet match. Storm and Gunner were out for a promo, but got ambushed by the Aces and Eights. That led to a match as the Aces and Eights used a weapon behind the ref's back to pick up the win. AJ Styles comes out to pick his opponent for no surrender. He chose Austin Aries. Magnus vs. Rude was announced for no surrender as well. Bully Ray vs. Sting in a non-title match as Hogan bans Tito from ringside and makes the match a no disqualification. Bully takes the padding off of the ring. Sting got the upper hand and the Aces interfered. Main Event Mafia came out with two factions. And the two factions brawled backstage. Anderson had the hammer, but it's taken away by the ref, leading to Sting winning by submission. Anderson and Bully got into an argument, and it's revealed that Anderson will face Bully Ray for the world title at No Surrender. That ended the show. TNA was running a special where fans who donate 5 or more non-perishable food items will receive a free ticket to Thursday's Impact television taping in St. Louis at the Chauvet Arena. Food will be donated to the St. Louis Food Bank. As much as I would like to believe that TNA is doing this strictly out of kindness of their hearts, it appears to be a sign of the company attempting to fill the building instead as much as possible for the TV taping as slow ticket sales. Either way, it's for a good cause, and you can for a free ticket. Devon spoke with Florida today to promote an upcoming benefit show as he was asked what's next for him. Now that he's been released by TNA, I'm going to Disney World, as Devon cracked. Actually, I'm going to spend more time with the family, and I'm not done with wrestling. I'll still have the Team 3D Academy in Kissimmee training wrestlers. There is still a lot for me to do, but I'm going to relax a while and enjoy some time off. I'll be able to train more and get in the best shape of my life and then focus on what's next. Only God knows what he has planned for me and where I am headed. I'm just his co-pilot. Devon was also asked if he has any regrets regarding gimmicks or characters he played. No, he said. Some might think I regret the Reverend Devon character in the WWE, but I actually liked it. I think that was just a case where Paul Heyman, and I just saw the character very differently. He is a genius, and he would write these scripts for me that I didn't feel were right for the character. If you don't feel it, it's not going to work. It worked for a while, but we were on two different pages. Paul created the Dudley Boys and gave us our start. And I love that guy dearly. We just don't agree on the Reverend Devon character. We bounced back after that character and went on to win championships. So it's all good. Read the full interview at floridatoday.com. Devon is leading the charge for the benefit show that will be held on Saturday in Melbourne, Florida at the Melbourne Auditorium. The show benefits the Hope for a Single Mom Cancer Group. The card was loaded with Hulk Hogan, Samoa Joe, Jay Lethal, Mike Nux, Garrett Bischoff, Wes Briscoe, and SoCal Val appearing. TNA contract of Mickie James has expired, making her a free agent. TNA made an offer to James that she rejected. She signed with TNA in September 2010, and James dropped the TNA Knockout title at the last pay-per-view Impact against ODB in the match as it will air, and no word yet on whether if WWE has interest in bringing James back to the fold. Former heavyweight boxing champion Riddick Bowe will be making his pro wrestling debut for Preston City Wrestling on March the 1st, 2014. PCW issued a press release announcing that Bowe will appear on the February 28th event for a contract signing. His opponent has yet to be named. For more details, visit PrestonCityWrestling.com. The UK promotion has not announced a venue or an opponent for Bowe yet. The 46-year-old Bowe recently made some headlines by saying that he wants to be the first heavyweight boxing champion and heavyweight wrestling champion. He won the WBA, WBC, and IBF titles in 1992 and later won the WBO championship in 1995. And that is the end of this episode, and stay tuned for more videos coming up soon. Thanks again and peace out.